Greetings, YouTube. Recently, I discovered something. I was rather severely wrong about a social issue, and so I thought I'd address that today. A while back, maybe almost 2 months ago, there was something on, I think it was on the Young Turks Network, about a barbershop that is an exclusively male barbershop, and a couple came in, a man and a woman, and the woman wanted her haircut, and she was refused service, and that really pissed me off. Well, in the discussion, someone brought up the fact that Curves does the same thing. Curves is a woman-only gym. It's geared towards a different style of exercise, not a lot of heavy weightlifting, exercise machines. I think they have them set up in a cycle, so you go and do an X amount of time on each one, that kind of thing. So it's try to get a workout done in a regimented set of time, which fits into a lot of people's lives a lot more easily. And so it pissed me off as well. I go, why is Curves do that? So I was pissed off at both entities, both groups. And of course, in the course of the conversation, it came up that, well, a male barber, there are women barbers out there, by the way, a man barber, is going to have a hard time cutting women's hair. And I was like, why? Hair is hair. I said, women hairstylists are expected to be able to cut men and women's hair, so why shouldn't barbers be expected to cut men and women's hair? And if a woman is going to a barber shop, there's a distinct possibility she would like a haircut that they specialize in. I've known women that have had buzz cuts and have gone to barber shops because it costs a lot less. And a buzz cut is a buzz cut. So we have no idea what kind of haircut this woman wanted. She was refused service, which I think is wrong, and I think they should be sued. I think they should lose. I frankly think they should have their business license rescinded. But I walked away from that looking equally negatively at both this masculine, exclusive, no girls allowed barbershop and Curves, no boys allowed exercise business. And then last week, there was an article about a yoga studio that is exclusively geared towards people of color. And there's a whole lot of white people upset at this. And so I don't know if they're being sued or there's just a controversy about it and they're being shamed on public social media and things like that. So I started thinking about it. And then I read a comment that really kind of refocused this entire discussion for me. Yoga was a practice intimately linked with a religion that was developed by people of color. Then white culture appropriated yoga, stripped off the layer of religious belief, and only practiced it as a form of exercise. And when people of color would now like to practice this the way it was originally intended, as a practice designed by brown people for brown people, almost exclusively at the time. Remember, there pretty much weren't any white people in India when yoga was being developed. Suddenly, white people are all upset. So I'm like, well, that pisses me off. This is their practice. People of color created it. People of color should be able to practice it on their own, without the inclusion of white people, unless those white people have decided to practice it the same way it's supposed to be practiced. And again, it could be taken as an individual basis. So I realized the hypocrisy I was committing. If I'm going to think that this yoga studio, I don't know what the proper term for a yoga practice is called, now that I think about it, the proper term, I'm just using studio because I don't know what the proper term would be, should be able to do this, and I think they should. Why can't Curves? And why is there a difference between Curves, this yoga studio, and that barbershop? And then I remembered something. Power. Our society is masculine through and through. All spaces, public and private, are masculine spaces. And women intrude upon them, sometimes with the force of government and the courts behind them, at their own risk. Women have had to shove their foot in the door again and again and again because men control these spaces and say, no, women are not allowed. So there is no need for an exclusively masculine barbershop. Men control every frigging public space in the world, including the barbershops. So there is no reason that they should be granted some special power to do it even more. That's like saying, okay, you're hitting somebody with a baseball bat. Well, here's a bigger baseball bat. Have at it. Men have been dominating and oppressing women for a very long time. And when a group of women says, we don't want to be intruding into a masculine gym, where we're going to have to put up with the harassment of the men that go there. We want a space that is our space, where we are going to be free to exercise without comment, without critical discussions about our appearance and how we're doing. And do you really lift, bro? Okay? They don't want that. So they've created themselves a space that is theirs. So men don't need to intrude into that, because men have every other gym in the world to go use. Just like white people can practice any form of exercise they want to, why do they have to appropriate the exercise regimen, divorced from its religious beginnings, from people of color? Why do they have to do that? Why can't they just go practice their own forms of exercise? Heck, they could go back to the Greeks if they want. Lots of different types of exercises were practiced by the Greeks, often naked. Of course, many men would be uncomfortable with that because they're deeply insecure and homophobic. So I realized how wrong I was. While that barbershop deserves to be sued, Curves doesn't. Nor does this yoga studio that wants to have itself exclusively for people of color deserve to be castigated publicly. They're practicing yoga the way it was originally intended. And I was wrong. And it's my job as an ally to women and to people of color to check my own privilege. And to keep an eye on what I do and what I say, on my actions and my thoughts. To discover when I am in error. And to correct that. And to admit it. And to move on with my life. To become a better ally by keeping my own issues in check. That's my job as an ally. That's what I need to do every single day. So screw that barber. That barbershop should not be exclusively for men. They control too many things already. If a woman walks in off the street and wants a haircut, she should get the same kind of haircut that any man walks in should get. Now, if she's going there expecting a haircut that maybe the guy isn't trained for, that's a different discussion. And we should be asking, why isn't the barber trained how to cut women's hair? Why is there a difference between women's hair and men's hair in the realm of hairstyling? Which is what a barber is. They're a hairstylist. Okay? There aren't a lot of barbers out there doing minor surgical procedures and pulling teeth and things like that, like in the Middle Ages. They're hairstylists. Yes, they're styling hair on top of the scalp and mustaches and beards, but they're still hairstylists. That's it. And I know that in my childhood, at least 40 years ago, there were women barbers in my city. And I do not live in a great metropolitan center. So, white people, men, calm down. If women want to have their own gym, let them. If people of color want to practice their exercise routine, let them. You dominate the world. Stop pretending you don't.